For sprinting across gravel to a man in a yellow safety jacket and striking him twice in the helmet with his gloved hands on live television in front of the entire paddock. That is Marco Bezzecchi. That is what erupted at Autodrom Brno on June 20th, 2026. And who collected the championship points while Bezzecchi stood watching from the garage? Marc Marquez. Always Marquez. Bezzecchi carried a lead that once stretched to 102 points over Marquez heading into this stretch of the season. By Sunday evening at Brno, that advantage collapsed to 40 points. 40. One impulsive moment, one lost Sunday, and what looked like a championship already stitched up is suddenly a live, bleeding fight again. The question that is burning through every MotoGP paddock conversation right now is this: did Bezzecchi just hand Marquez the title with his own fists? If you are a MotoGP fan and Brno is the moment this season finally grabbed you, subscribe to this channel right now because this title war is exactly what we exist to cover. Here is how Saturday collapsed. Czech GP sprint race. Turn 3 at Brno. Bezzecchi, riding for Aprilia Racing and running 5th, hits the deck hard. Crash. His sprint race is finished. But his bike stayed running on the track surface, and Marshal Ladislav moved in to get control of it. The throttle opened up accidentally, the engine climbing to high RPM. Ladislav wrestled with the machine, trying to pin it down, trying to stop a live motorcycle from becoming a hazard to other riders still on circuit. Bezzecchi did not process what he was actually watching. On onboard footage captured by MotoGP's cameras, you can hear him running to the Marshal post screaming, "Cazzo fai!" Italian for "What the f*** are you doing?" before shoving Ladislav and striking him twice in the helmet and face. A volunteer. A man stationed at that corner specifically to protect riders from harm. The weight of that irony does not ease up, no matter how many times you replay the clip. And by Saturday night, the entire sport had replayed it plenty. 5 years. That is the exact gap since a Grand Prix rider received a race ban at this level. The last suspension was Moto3's Deniz Öncü back in 2021. 5 years of calm. Bezzecchi ended that record in roughly 10 seconds of uncontrolled fury. FIM MotoGP stewards, led by Simon Crafar, did not linger. Unsportsmanlike behavior, physical aggression toward track personnel. Bezzecchi was suspended from Sunday's Czech Grand Prix, gone from the race, just like that. Aprilia Racing filed an appeal on June 20th. What else could they do? Their championship leader, their entire 2026 title investment, locked out of a race that would directly reshape the standings. The FIM appeal stewards reviewed the case that same evening and denied it outright. The footage existed from multiple camera angles. There was no room to negotiate with the video evidence, and the team officially accepted the penalty. Bezzecchi watched Sunday's race from outside the garage, stripped of any possibility to limit the damage. Now, the man who got hit, Ladislav, spoke to TNT Sports after the incident. He could have been furious. He had every right. Instead, his words were measured and disarming. "I understand his situation. He crashed. I wanted to put it back down." That is the Marshal. That is the person who absorbed 2 strikes to the helmet, telling a global audience he understood the pressure behind the reaction. His composure made Bezzecchi's behavior look even more indefensible. And nothing softens that contrast. Sunday morning at Autodrom Brno, before the Grand Prix started, Bezzecchi rode a paddock scooter back out to Ladislav's Marshal post. Visibly shaken, he shook his hand and delivered a face-to-face apology, extending that publicly to the whole MotoGP community. The ban did not move. The appeal was closed. But he showed up personally and looked the man in the eye, which matters, even when it changes nothing on the official penalty sheet. If this championship situation is landing with you right now, tap like. It pushes this toward more MotoGP fans who need to see exactly what just happened at Brno. Marc Marquez lined up on the Brno grid Sunday afternoon, and his main championship rival was somewhere in that paddock watching a screen. What did Marquez do with that? Exactly what you would expect from someone who has been in title fights before. Lap 16, he overtook factory Ducati Lenovo teammate Francesco Bagnaia with precision and pulled clear. Trackhouse Aprilia's I. Ogura hunted him right to the flag, closing all the way to 0.421 seconds at the line. Not enough. Marquez held on, 2 consecutive wins now after Hungary 2 weeks prior, and the factory Ducati Lenovo machine is clearly clicking at exactly the wrong time for an Aprilia squad that just lost its best weapon for an entire race day. Where does the table sit now? Bezzecchi at 180 points. His own Aprilia teammate Jorge Martin at 172, just 8 points behind him, after crossing the line 9th, carrying a double long lap penalty from Hungary that strangled any chance of capitalizing on Bezzecchi's absence. Marquez at 140 points, 40 back from the top. Is a 40-point gap to Marquez comfortable? Against a rider on consecutive wins with momentum and a team delivering results? Not remotely. That is what cuts deepest about Brno for Bezzecchi. Points are numbers on a screen. What is harder to measure is the psychological position he carries into every remaining round. He arrived in the Czech Republic as the man who had this championship under control, with a margin that made him look bulletproof. He left it as the rider whose face is on footage of him striking a safety marshal, who received a suspension the paddock had not witnessed in 5 years, and who personally handed his fiercest rival the clearest window of the entire season. That is the real cost. Not just the 25 potential points lost from being barred from competing. The lost narrative. The lost narrative. This rivalry was never going to be clean anyway. That goes back to 2023, when Bezzecchi publicly branded Marquez the dirtiest rider in MotoGP following their Valencia collision. Deliberate, on record. That label sat between them ever since, right up until 2026 placed them in completely flipped circumstances. Marquez now commanding the factory Ducati, Bezzecchi leading Aprilia's title charge, and both of them locked in the most charged championship fight in years. Different teams, same animosity underneath. So after Sunday's Brno victory, a reporter pointed the band directly at Marquez and waited. His response? No attack, no twisting the knife. He said, "We are young, we are learning things," in front of millions of people with the full adrenaline. I think he learned about it. From the man Bezzecchi once called the dirtiest rider in the sport, that measured response carries more weight than any public attack ever could. Marquez did not need to say anything damaging. He already collected 25 points, 40 points now. That is the entire gap between the 2026 championship leader and the man who just won 2 races back-to-back. Every sprint result matters. Every Sunday matters. Every decision Bezzecchi makes under pressure from this point forward carries the shadow of Turn 3 at Brno and the race ban that converted a comfortable season into a genuine war. Bezzecchi has to come back, reset completely, ride like someone who has not just watched months of hard-built advantage get sliced in half by his own uncontrolled reaction on a Saturday afternoon. And Marquez has to keep applying pressure, without overreaching, without gifting Bezzecchi a grievance to fuel him. This championship just changed shape, permanently. If this title fight has you locked in the same way it has got everyone inside that paddock right now, like this video and subscribe. The rounds ahead are going to be defining, and when Marquez and Bezzecchi finally face each other on track again, you will want the complete breakdown here first.